Everybody, welcome to Texas News Studio. I'm your host, Mark Myers. A lot going on in the world. Some of the news you probably already heard today, but we want to catch up, let you know what's going on. Of course, the big news as was Ukraine did launch long-range missiles into Ukraine earlier, and these were the ATACMS strikes on Russia. And again, this is heating up in the world, so we're going to get you caught up on the news. Good to see our Twitch folks tonight. Good to see you up on YouTube, and good to see you all over on Rumble again. Good to see everybody. Glad you're watching us tonight. So let me go ahead and get caught up on some of these latest developments in here. And first off, again, these are the developments that I've got that we've been monitoring out today. Again, they've fired these long-range missiles for the first time, U.S. officials tells Reuters. We were telling you about this last night. The reports were coming in that they would fire them within the next few days. Well, they fired them during the overnight, early morning hours. And again, Russia says Ukraine attacked it using the long-range missiles, and it signals it's ready for a nuclear response. Again, there's a lot of talk back and forth, but again, that's what they're saying. It's been getting pretty serious. Again, Russia has started building nuclear-resistant bomb shelters, ramped up threats of World War III. This is coming from the New York Post, guys. So this is, getting some mainstream attention. Again, the British Prime Minister, in response to the possibility of a nuclear conflict, they're saying, well, it's irresponsible rhetoric coming from Russia. Beyond that, Denmark has already delivered 6 F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine, set to provide 13 more. This is the Danish Prime Minister said at a press conference with Ukrainian President Zelensky. Also, we had a Danish ship earlier today. I think they actually seized it, but we'll need to get reports about that, about the Chinese ship that was suspected of sabotage. Then, on everything else that's been going on, NORAD aircraft, at least up earlier today, are conducting a planned at that point live fly air exercise in support of Operation Noble Eagle. Now, this was out near Riverside, California today. It says NORAD F-16s and civil air patrol general aviation aircraft will participate in the exercise and will likely be visible to the public. So if you're out in California, you should have been seeing this or will be seeing this today. And again, the Danish Navy patrol vessel, the HDMS Rhoda, this is the P-25, has been currently following a Chinese bulk carrier. The Yaping 3 is moving from the Baltic Sea to the North Sea near Denmark. Chinese ship, again, has been suspected to be involved in severing of communication cables in the Baltic Sea. So a lot of intense news going on in the world, guys. These are just some of the very big headlines I got, and I got a lot more going on. Hey, while I'm at it right now, there's Desert in here on YouTube. Good to see you, plus everybody else that's joining us today. Thanks for watching us. And let me continue on here. Plus, everything else is kind of real time. We've had a lot of reports today, even some more drone activity going on tonight into Moscow, and we're going to keep things very close, updated you very close. But beyond everything else, there were reports that is concerning of mysterious drone activity. This was over Morris County, New Jersey. Now, this is coming from a security breach. It's been back and forth about all this, but there seems to be something to it. And we're turning our attention to Morris County, New Jersey, where residents have reported unusual activity near a military research facility. It says multiple large drones were observed flying from the Somerset County border northward and back, prompting law enforcement to issue alerts and deploy resources, including a Black Hawk helicopter, to investigate. Now, again, we want to know what's the nature of this activity and what are the implications for national security. Now, we're going to go ahead and explore these developments tonight. And again, this is significant development. Again, according to Zero Hedge, a swarm of mysterious drones circled parts of Morris County during the overnight hours, drawing attention of local law enforcement. And they're saying reports indicate that multiple large drones were spotted flying from the Somerset County border northward and back. Law enforcement has been advised to notify their communication centers of any sightings. Now, just to connect the dots here, Morris County is home to several sensitive installations, including military research facilities. The presence of unidentified drones in this area raises serious questions about surveillance and potential security breaches. Now, are these drones conducting reconnaissance missions? And if so, what's the purpose and who's operating them? Of course, the mainstream media might downplay this, but we need to ask, what are these drones? What are they here for? What information are they gathering? And most importantly, who is behind this operation? This isn't just about privacy, it's about national security. Of course, we've got to be vigilant and demand transparency from our authorities. And of course, considering the broader implications, the presence of unidentified drones near sensitive military installations is a cause for concern. Now, it's possible these are benign activities, such as hobbyist flights. The proximity, coordinated nature to critical infrastructure suggests otherwise. And again, the incident highlights the challenges law enforcement and national security agencies face in monitoring and controlling airspace, especially with the proliferation of drone technology. It also raises questions about the adequacy of current regulations and the effectiveness of existing countermeasures. Of course, as we move forward, it's essential to balance the benefits of drone technology with the need to protect sensitive areas from potential surveillance or malicious activities. Of course, it's going to require a concerted effort from both government agencies and private entities to develop and implement effective strategies. Again, the bottom line, folks, the mysterious drone activity over Morris County is not an isolated incident. It's part of a larger pattern of surveillance and potential security breaches. And we've got to demand answers from our authorities and hold them accountable for protecting our airspace and sensitive installations. Of course, the globalists and their allies want to keep us in the dark, but we won't let them. Stay vigilant. Keep you updated here. Now, that's just one of the more incredible stories we've had. That was, again, going on overnight. And I want to make you aware of that one. The next one in here, guys, again, just to recap, Russia says Ukraine attacked a key military target using U.S.-supplied long-range missiles. And just to make you clear about this, these missiles are no joke. They have a range of up to, again, we talked about this yesterday, 190 miles, can precisely strike critical infrastructure. It's not just about military aid, it's a direct message to Russia that the West is an all-out proxy war. Now, the Kremlin, in no uncertain terms, has said this action crosses a red line. It says we're not talking about some symbolic protests. Russia is signaling its readiness to use nuclear weapons in retaliation in some form or capacity. Nuclear weapons, those doomsday devices we've managed to avoid using for almost 80 years. And then to ask, why is this happening now? Well, the Biden administration is playing with fire by sending weapons that blatantly escalate this conflict. Is it to prop up the narrative of unwavering support for Ukraine, or is there a more deeper or more sinister agenda here? And we got to ask, what are the consequences for this for America? Again, the U.S. has already spent billions of your tax dollars on this war, and we're sending weapons capable of reaching deep into Russian territory. Do our leaders even understand the stakes here? A nuclear response isn't just some abstract possibility, it's a direct threat to our national security. The media, again, is not asking any questions, or not much. You have to wonder why. Instead, they're just spitting this as a win for Ukraine. But at what cost? Escalating a conflict with the world's largest nuclear power isn't a victory, it's madness. And the American people deserve answers. And again, you're not going to hear this, not too many places. You got to hear at TNS and a few other places in terms of just some general, in the media, I should say, just generally updating you. But we're letting you know the seriousness of what's going on. Now, beyond that, so we're getting you a lot of different sources for these reports here today. From Zero Hedge, the next one I've got is from Barron's. Again, Russia declares new phase in Ukraine war after U.S. supplied long-range strikes. And again, a critical development in the war in Ukraine. Again, Russia has officially announced that Ukraine's deployment of the U.S. provided long-range missiles signals a new phase in the conflict. This declaration from the Kremlin raises the stakes dramatically and could have consequences that extend far beyond the battlefield. Again, who's driving this escalation and how might it affect you? Get into the details here. Now, this is a moment we've been warning about. According to Barron's, again, Russia said that Ukraine's use of these long-range missiles to strike key military targets represents a dangerous escalation. And these are U.S.-made weapons. They're capable of precision strikes, which we already talked about earlier, can hit critical infrastructure over 190 miles away. Ukraine just used them to destroy multiple Russian helicopters and ammunition depots in the Luhansk region. But again, this isn't just about Ukraine anymore. This is Washington writing checks, potentially in blood, escalating a war they don't seem to want to end. The Kremlin knows exactly where these missiles came from. They're saying this action marks a new stage in the war. And we're going to tell you something here. When a nuclear superpower says something like that, you better pay attention. We're not talking about some vague warning. We've been hearing the warnings lately. Now you could say, oh, it's just nothing's going to happen. It's just talk. But again, it's very concerning when you got a nuclear power no matter what. And they're going to be patient for a while. But Russia, again, is openly accusing the United States of fueling a direct conflict. It means the entire world is now walking on a tightrope, one misstep away from catastrophe. And just thinking about it rationally for a moment, what does this escalation achieve? Are we bringing peace any closer? Are we securing global stability? Are we inching closer to the confrontational event that could engulf the entire world? People in charge, our so-called leaders in Washington, they don't seem to be asking these questions. What we're seeing is a classic example of recklessness. Billions of U.S. taxpayer dollars have already gone into this conflict. Now we're sending weapons that can strike deep into Russian-held territory. And these aren't defensive measures, they're offensive now. The Kremlin is treating them as such. Of course, the mainstream media, predictably, is ignoring the bigger picture, calling this a victory for Ukraine. But the victories like this come with risk, risks that could spiral out of control. And again, the question is, do we, the American people, understand the stakes? Because the people running this war seem to think they're invincible. So, of course, the real question now is, what happens now? And that's the terrifying part. Russia's drawn up a line in the sand, at least that's what they're saying, and we don't feel they're bluffing. It's going to come to a point where they're not going to be bluffing anymore. We don't know where that's going to happen, but again, they say time and time again, they won't tolerate direct interference from the West. And yet here we are handing over weapons designed to hit their most critical assets. The globalists, the military-industrial complex, they don't care about the consequences. They're just interested in making billions, while the rest of us are left wondering how close we are to the brink. And it's not, again, just about Ukraine. It's about the future of our world. And if we don't wake up, we're going to regret it. And again, the new phase of this war has begun, one that could escalate in ways no one wants to imagine. I don't think Russia is backing down, not anymore, and the U.S. isn't either. So we're going to keep you updated on these developments with all these different articles that we're sourcing to let you know what's going on in the world. While I'm at it here, checking in with our audience here tonight. Good to see our audience on YouTube. There's Jerry, and thanks to our moderators tonight that's staying with us, and Desert and everybody else over on YouTube, about 700 of you, and plus folks over on Rumble as well. Thank you so much, guys, for staying with us tonight. Now, continuing on, I want to get you caught up on some of the other developments because there's a whole ton of them. We've been telling you about the underseas cables. They were severed in the Baltic recently. Concern now about is the hybrid war escalating. This is actually coming, guys, from NBC News. And again, we're watching troubling developments in the Baltic Sea now, region already brimming with geopolitical tensions. Undersea communications and energy cables, this is connecting Finland, Estonia, and Sweden, have been severed. An act that experts are calling a potential act of hybrid warfare, I should say. Now, was this a deliberate strike to destabilize Europe? Who could be behind it? Again, telling you this, according to NBC, key undersea cables, vital infrastructure for communications and energy were mysteriously cut in the Baltic Sea. Again, the official narrative might try to paint this as some kind of freak accident or even natural wear and tear, but nobody's even believing that. Not even the MSMs even believing that now. But it just doesn't snap on their own, obviously. This reeks of sabotage of somebody. Again, this is hybrid warfare, plain and simple. Think about it. Europe depends on these cables for everything. This is trade, energy, military coordination. Disrupting them doesn't just make it an inconvenience for a few people. It destabilizes an entire region or nations. And guess what? The timing couldn't be more suspicious. Finland just joined NATO, putting even more pressure on Russia. And are we seriously going to ignore the obvious connections here? But again, what's more disturbing, that gets really interesting here, if this is indeed an act of sabotage, it's not just an attack on Finland or Estonia, it's a message to the entire Western alliance. It's a warning that no piece of infrastructure, no matter how critical, is safe. But going through our analysis here, let's think this through again logically. Who stands to gain from such an attack? Of course, Russia immediately comes to mind. Moscow has been increasingly aggressive, both militarily and economically, as its war in Ukraine drags on. Severing undersea cables in the Baltic would not only disrupt Europe's ability to respond to crisis, but also fear and division among NATO allies. But there is another angle we need to consider: the lack of preparedness in the West. How did this happen? Where were the safeguards? Again, NATO is actually supposed to be a deterrent against threats like this, yet critical infrastructure in one of the most monitored regions in the world has been compromised. What does it say about our ability to defend ourselves in terms of real physical threats, let alone cyber or hybrid attacks? Again, the media is barely covering this. Again, it doesn't affect and doesn't fit their narrative of Western dominance and control. Mistake. This incident, again, is a wake-up call. And this is just the beginning. Hybrid warfare isn't just a future threat. It's happening right now. They're targeting infrastructure. They're sowing chaos, testing the limits of our resolve. Again, the globalists want you to believe everything is under control, of course, but it's not. This attack is a warning shot, and if we don't take it seriously, the next one could hit even closer to home. So again, very interesting developments here. We're going to keep you updated on that. Now, we've been telling you about what's going on with Europe, the globalists, but I want to make you aware of something that's very close to home out on the West Coast in terms of a concern that has happened over the decades when big earthquakes happen. Doesn't mean anything's going to happen, but I want to make you aware. This is actually coming, multiple reports, but AccuWeather is reporting this. Oarfish sightings in California, harbingers of disaster or natural phenomenon. I want to make you aware of an unfolding series of unusual events along the California coastline. For the third time this year, the elusive oarfish, often dubbed the doomsday fish, has washed ashore. And again, you've heard about this in various cultures. These deep sea creatures are considered omens of impending natural disasters. Now, are these recent sightings mere coincidences, or do they signal something more ominous? We're going to delve into this a little bit further. Again, this is no ordinary fish. According to AccuWeather, a 9-foot oarfish was discovered. This is in Grand View Beach in California. This was is on November the 6th. This occurrence marks the third time this year alone. And these oarfish are deep sea dwellers, rarely seen by humans. Their sudden appearance have long been associated with seismic activity, particularly in Japanese mythology, where they're considered harbingers of earthquakes and tsunamis. But again, this is where it gets kind of interesting. In 2010, multiple oarfish sightings preceded Japan's devastating 2011 earthquake. Again, some theories suggest that tectonic movements could disorient these creatures, causing them to surface and eventually wash ashore. Now, while a 2019 study found no direct correlation between oarfish sightings and earthquakes, the timing of these events is enough to raise some eyebrows. Again, what's going on? Are these fish trying to tell us something? Or is this just another case of mainstream media dismissing ancient wisdom as mere superstition? We do need to pay attention, because nature has a way of communicating, and ignoring these signs could be perilous. And also the broader implications. California is no stranger to seismic activity. State's residents are well aware of the risk. But again, the reoccurrence of these oarfish sightings in such a short span is unusual. Now, while scientists urge caution against jumping to conclusion, it is worth noting that these events coincided with other environmental anomalies, such as unusual weather patterns and marine life behavior. So I want to make you aware of this. The bottom line is you got to pay real close attention, especially where we are right now, because it seems to me, just the way we are in the world right now, we could have a series of big time events all happening at once. It could be something like a big massive earthquake, and combine that with military developments over in Ukraine, NATO. You can see where all this could end up in. So I want to make you aware of that. Also, we've had some NATO Arctic drills, military drills. Again, we're going to turn our attention now to the Arctic. This is where NATO has commenced large-scale military exercises. This is in close proximity to Russia's borders. And these maneuvers, involving thousands of troops and advanced weaponry, have raised questions about the alliance's intentions and the potential for escalating tensions with Moscow. Now, are these drills a necessary show of strength, or are they a reckless provocation? We're going to explore this as well tonight. Again, this is significant development. According to Insider Paper, and there's other reports out there as well, NATO has launched extensive military exercises in the Arctic right on Russia's doorstep. These drills, dubbed Steadfast Defender, they're the largest of their kind since the Cold War. They're involving right now over 90,000 troops from 31 NATO member countries, plus Sweden. The exercises actually span from North America to NATO's eastern flank, close to the Russian border, include over 50 naval vessels, 80 aircraft, and over 1,100 combat vehicles. And this isn't just routine training either. The Arctic is a region of immense strategic importance. Again, rich in resources and vital in shipping routes. Russia has been ramping up its capabilities in the area. NATO's response appears to be a direct challenge. But again, is this a show of force, or is it poking the bear a little bit too much? Again, the mainstream media might downplay it, but we do need to ask, what are the real objectives here? Is NATO preparing for potential conflict, or is this a message to Russia that the alliance is ready to defend its interest in the Arctic? And more importantly, what does this mean for global stability? Again, the stakes are high, consequences could be far-reaching. And then in terms of the broader context, the Arctic has become a focal point of geopolitical competition. This is not only with Russia, it's also with the United States and China, and they're all vying for influence. NATO's exercises are a clear signal to Moscow that the alliance is committed to defending its northern members and maintaining a presence in the region. But again, is this the right approach? Now, critics will argue that such large-scale drills near Russia's borders could be seen as provocative, potentially leading to a dangerous escalation. Again, the Kremlin has already expressed concerns, viewing these maneuvers as a threat to national security. But the real question is, are we inadvertently pushing towards a new Cold War in that area? Of course, on the other hand, proponents assert that demonstrating military readiness is essential to deter aggression. And they point to Russia's increased military activities in the Arctic and argue that a strong NATO presence is necessary to maintain balance. But again, at what cost? And are we prepared for the potential fallout of these actions? But again, in our opinion, NATO's Arctic exercises are more than just some drills. They're a statement, if nothing else. And we do need to be cautious. Provoking a nuclear-armed nation like Russia is a dangerous game. Again, the globalist and the military-industrial complex might benefit from increased tensions. So we're going to keep an eye on that one as well. And I got more news. I got a lot of news that's probably not kind of depressing, guys, but we do want to make you aware of what's going on, whether it's positive or not. While we're at it, glad to see our folks coming in tonight on all of our different platforms. I'm checking in very quickly here while we're going through the news here and reading your comments in here. Again, good to see Jan in here as well. I'm glad you're all watching from all different regions in the world. We got a lot of you tonight over on YouTube, so I'm glad you're with us tonight. The other one, we might have talked about this earlier. I may have talked about it briefly, but again, Russia's nuclear resistance shelters. They're preparing, or at least for a posture, if not for conflict. But again, we're turning our attention to a significant development, again, out of Russia. The Kremlin has initiated mass production of mobile nuclear-resistant bomb shelters, a move that raises serious questions about their intentions in the current state of global affairs. Now, do you think the United States is going to be offering that type of service for its citizens? I don't think so. Is this a defensive measure or a signal of something more ominous? Again, this is a major development. According to MSN News, even the mainstream media is talking about this. Russia has begun mass producing mobile bomb shelters. They're known as a Cub-M, capable of withstanding nuclear blast. Now, these shelters can house up to 54 people and provide protection for up to 48 hours against radiation, conventional explosions, and hazardous materials and chemicals. And they're designed for easy transport by truck, making them a versatile addition to Russia's civil defense infrastructure. Again, to connect the dots, this move comes on the heels of President Biden's decision to allow Ukraine to use long-range missiles against Russian targets. Again, this is a significant escalation in the ongoing conflict. In a response, Russia has adjusted its nuclear weapons doctrine, lowering the threshold for their use. Again, the timing is no coincidence. The Kremlin is sending a clear message. They are prepared for the possibility of nuclear confrontation, and we're not. I haven't seen any mobile bomb shelters roaming around here in Dallas lately. I don't think we ever will. But again, why now? What do they know that we don't? Are we on the brink of something a little bit larger? The mainstream media, again, isn't asking very many questions, but we need to. And this isn't just about Russia's internal policies, it's about global security and the potential for a catastrophic escalation. And again, to take a step back on this and consider the broader context, the production of these shelters indicates a significant investment in civil defense, something we haven't seen on this scale since the Cold War. It's a clear signal that Russia is taking the threat of nuclear conflict very seriously. But again, what does this mean for the rest of the world? For one, it suggests that diplomatic efforts to de-escalate tensions may be failing. You think so? If Russia is preparing for the worst, shouldn't we be doing the same? And what about our allies? Well, some of our allies are, especially over in Europe. But here again in the United States, I don't think there's going to be any support. You're just going to hear a quick EAM message and EBS broadcast on your TV, and that's going to probably be about it. But again, we do need to ask some of these questions. But again, so far there's been little discussion from anybody. And again, the development could have a ripple effect, prompting other nations to bolster their defenses, which we've already been seeing. It's also leading to an arms race, reminiscent of the Cold War. And is this the direction we want? And are our leaders prepared to handle the consequences? Again, the bottom line, Russia is gearing up for a potential nuclear conflict. They're not hiding it anymore, guys. The globalists and the military-industrial complex are pushing us toward the brink. The mainstream media isn't talking much about it. But we need to wake up and demand accountability from our leaders. Again, the future really depends on it. So, we've been telling you about that. I've got a little bit of other news just briefly to want to make you aware of as well. This is actually coming about Alex Jones has been challenging the InfoWar auction. And talking about the contentious legal battle, this is surrounding the sale of InfoWars by the platform, of course, founded by Alex Jones. Jones has filed an emergency motion, again, to halt the sale, alleging collusive bidding practices during the bankruptcy auction. And this development raises critical questions about the integrity of the process and the broader implications for media ownership and free speech. And in a pivotal moment in the fight for free speech, and this is according to Zero Hedge, it goes on to say that the InfoWars, they filed an emergency motion to invalidate the winning bid in the InfoWars bankruptcy auction, citing collusive bidding between the Onion and the families of the Sandy Hook Elementary School victims. So that's been going on down today. Again, the winning bid for the Onion was a mere $1.75 million. It was significantly lower than the $3.5 million offered by First United American Companies. That's FUAC. Yet the bankruptcy trustee accepted the lower bid, raising serious questions about the fairness and transparency of the process on that. Again, the mainstream media is not telling you much about it, but there's a lot of effort nowadays to shut down platforms, whether you agree with them or not, that challenges the establishment. So that's one report that we've got. We're monitoring that very closely. If you're watching Alex Jones, you can get more of the details, but that's kind of a quick update with InfoWars. You probably heard a little bit about that already. Going further, guys, the Pentagon has scrambled to erase the DEI footprint again, ahead of Trump's return. Again, tonight we're going to be turning our attention to the Pentagon, where reports indicate a frantic effort to dismantle diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is DEI initiatives ahead of President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration. Sources are suggesting that military leaders are erasing evidence of DEI programs, hence some of the shredders we've been reading about as well, these industrial shredders, much less everything else. And they're anticipating a significant policy shift under the incoming administration. According to a critical moment, and according to Zero Hedge, Pentagon officials are in a state of disarray, scrambling to eliminate traces of DEI programs before President-elect Trump takes office on January the 20th, 2025. Insiders describe the atmosphere as akin to a hornet's nest being kicked over, with generals urgently archiving DEI-related content from official websites. Now, just to connect the dots here, the Pentagon's sudden purge of DEI materials isn't just about policy changes, it's about covering tracks. Again, these initiatives, criticized for prioritizing woke agendas over combat readiness, have been deeply embedded in military operations. Now, with Trump's team reportedly drafting an executive order to identify and remove senior officers who champion these programs, the urgency to erase the evidence is palpable. Now, again, the mainstream media might downplay this, but again, asking these questions, why the rush? What are they hiding? Again, this isn't just bureaucratic housekeeping. It's a concerted effort to obscure the extent of DEI's infiltration into our military. And the globalists and their allies have pushed these agendas for years, and now as accountability looms, they're scrambling to conceal their tracks. And considering the broader implications, the Pentagon's DEI initiatives were implemented with the stated goal of fostering inclusivity and diversity within the ranks. However, critics argue that these programs have diverted focus from military's core mission, defending the nation. Again, the current purge suggests an acknowledgement, at least internally, that these initiatives may not withstand scrutiny under the incoming administration. You think so? And moreover, the development raises questions about the transparency and accountability within our defense institutions. If DEI programs are as beneficial as proponents claim, again, why the need to erase their existence? The haste to remove evidence indicates a lack of confidence in these initiatives and their legitimacy and effectiveness. Again, as we move forward, it's crucial to evaluate the impact of such programs on military readiness and cohesion. And again, the incoming administration's actions will likely set a precedent for how the military balances social initiatives with its primary defense objectives. And again, the bottom line, the Pentagon's frantic effort to erase DEI evidence, again, is a clear sign that these programs were more about pushing a political agenda than enhancing our military capabilities. Of course, the globalists have infiltrated our defense institutions. Now, as the tide turns, they're desperate to hide their tracks. So we're going to keep a very close eye on that, guys. There's a lot more news coming in here. Hang on one second. So we're taking a look real quick at some other breaking news that's coming in here tonight. Again, we're looking at right now, the Ukraine map is filling up tonight with a lot of alerts coming in here as well. Hey, Chris, thank you so much over on YouTube, guys. Your support is greatly appreciated on all of our platforms tonight. It's really helpful through the Rumble rants that we've been working on lately, the Rumble subscriptions. All that is really helpful to continue the channel. As many of you know, also the Twitch, we found out the other day that it wasn't just our channel that was having some problems with the ad revenue. Many other Twitch creators were knocked down as well, about 90%. Even Agenda Free TV, Luckner lost his revenue as well. So it's widespread across multiple creators. So that's why things have changed a little bit. So your support keeps us going. But continuing on now, guys, I want to make you aware of some of the other news developments in here. And also talking about the nuclear doctrine. Putin's nuclear doctrine has also been shifting as well. Vladimir Putin has revised his nation's nuclear doctrine, again, now permitting a nuclear response if Ukraine utilizes long-range U.S.-supplied missiles against Russian territory. Again, this escalation, again, raises critical questions. Could we be on the brink of a broader conflict? What are the ramifications? Again, this is a seismic shift in the geopolitical landscape. According to The Sun, Putin has authorized a new nuclear policy, threatening to deploy nuclear weapons if Ukraine employs long-range weapons and missiles provided by the United States to strike Russia. Now, this has already happened, of course, because Ukraine has already struck into Russia. So we are really changing things in the news cycle very quickly right now, going beyond rhetoric. Again, this is a direct response to President Biden's decision to supply Ukraine with these advanced weapon systems after 1,000 days of relentless conflict. Also, Russia had a very interesting talk about tomorrow, November the 20th, coming up and what could be happening. So again, watching that very closely as well. We're going to be watching developments during the overnight here at TNS. So stay with us. We got a lot of different ways that you can stay updated during the overnight. If you're not following us over on Rumble, check us out over on Rumble. If you're not following us over on Twitch, we got two different platforms or channels running right now. An X-Pro covering just Twitter, the latest updates that would even work during the overnight, and plus our news on Twitter, or I should say Twitter, Twitch as well. So, and we're up on Twitter X. But again, Ukraine has again launched these long-range missiles into Russia. They were targeting ammunition depots, and in retaliation, Russia has updated its nuclear doctrine, signaling a willingness to respond with nuclear force to what is perceived as Western aggression. And again, this isn't about Ukraine and Russia anymore. It's about the United States, Britain, France, and the entire NATO alliance being drawn into a potential nuclear confrontation. Again, the mainstream media is not saying that much about it, some, but not much, or they're downplaying it. But why is the West pushing these boundaries? Are we being led into a conflict that could spiral out of control? Taking a look back at this, the provision of long-range missiles to Ukraine represents a significant escalation in Western involvement in this conflict. Again, while the intent may be to bolster Ukraine's defense capabilities, the unintended consequence is a heightened risk of direct confrontation with a nuclear-armed Russia. And are our leaders really thinking about the potential fallout? The Kremlin's updated nuclear doctrine is a clear signal that they perceive these moves as an existential threat. Stakes couldn't be higher, and the margin now for error is perilously thin. And the developments could set a dangerous precedent. If nuclear powers begin to lower the threshold for nuclear engagement, again, the entire framework of deterrence that has maintained relative peace since the World War II could unravel. And the bottom line, folks, is we're being led down a very dangerous path by leaders who seem more interested in power and profit than in preserving peace. Putin's new nuclear policy isn't just a warning, it's a red line. Now, you may say we've always heard about red lines, but it's getting a little bit more concerning now. And if we don't demand accountability and return to diplomacy, we could be facing a conflict that makes all of us and all the previous wars pale in comparison. Got to watch it. Now, where does this leave us? The escalation between Russia and the West over Ukraine's use of long-range missiles has brought us to this critical juncture. It's imperative that we approach this situation with caution, clarity, and commitment to de-escalation, because the alternative is unthinkable. So, very dangerous times. We're going through all these different news articles to let you know, and got a lot of different sources and sourcing going on. It's trending. You might have not heard it here in the States. Maybe you didn't hear much about it on ABC News or NBC or CBS, CNN, or whoever, but we're getting a lot of these different sources in here so you can know what's going on. I've done a researching throughout the day and then pulling these updates during the evening. We're doing these evening broadcasts now with you, and we're trying to stay with you a little bit longer now, getting you kind of a little bit more comprehensive update on today's news. And it's not just what's going on with Ukraine, but other news developments as well that might be of interest to you. Now, the other report that I got, this is coming from Trending Politics News. And again, basically the same thing, but there's just talking about nuclear's doctrine shift. I'm not going to go real deep into it, but just getting you the idea that there's a lot of different articles that are talking about the Russian doctrine shift. If you didn't know about it, you know about it now. Now, in terms of zero hedge, Russia's nuclear doctrine expansion, this is coming from Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Has accused the West of escalating the conflict following President Vladimir Putin's recent expansion of Russia's nuclear doctrine. Again, this move is lowering the threshold for nuclear weapon use, raising critical questions about global security and potential for increased tensions. Do you think the lead? Again, just to let you know, President Putin has signed a decree expanding Russia's nuclear doctrine, effectively lowering the threshold for deploying nuclear weapons. And that's coming from Zero Hedge. So that's one report of many reports that I'm trying to kind of hone in on, that the change of the doctrine from Russia is definitely there now, if you didn't know before. Let's look at some of the other developments coming in tonight. We've been usually talking about the Middle East or North Korea or China, but again, there's so much going on with Ukraine right now and NATO. Hey, thank you, Bella, over on here as well. Thank you so much on YouTube tonight. Right, Stephen's talking about having a one cut down. Speaker Mike Johnson. Okay, let me continue on here. I want to make you aware of something that's very interesting. Couple developments here today. The DOJ has targeted Google's Chrome. The antitrust officials push for divestiture amid monopoly concerns. Again, also I was reading that Rumble's CEO might be interested in Google Chrome. And also Rumble may be doing some investment of their portfolio into Bitcoin. But again, we're looking at the Department of Justice reportedly urging Google to divest its Chrome browser, citing concerns over the company's dominance in the search market. Again, this move could have far-reaching implications for the tech landscape and consumer choice. Again, this is a monumental shift in the battle against big tech. Now, according to Zero Hedge, the DOJ is pushing for Google to sell off its Chrome browser, aiming to dismantle the company's stranglehold on the search market. And this isn't just about antitrust laws, it's about reclaiming the internet from corporate overlords who control the flow of information. Now, again, to connect the dots, Chrome, as you know, dominates the browser market, serving as the gateway to Google's search engine and advertising empire. But by forcing them to divest, the DOJ aims to break this cycle of control, potentially opening the door for competition and innovation. Of course, don't be fooled. Google won't go down without a fight, as you know. They built an empire on data collection. They're not going to let that go, including user manipulation, and they'll use every tool at their disposal to maintain their growth. Again, the mainstream media is going to downplay this, but we need to ask, why now? What prompted the DOJ to take such a bold step? And more importantly, will this action be enough to curb Google's influence? Or is it merely just a symbolic gesture? Again, looking at this at the broader implications, if the DOJ succeeds in forcing Google to divest Chrome, it could set a precedent for future antitrust actions against other tech behemoths. Again, this move signals a more aggressive stance by regulators in addressing certain practices that stifle competition and harm consumers. Of course, we also need to consider the potential fallout. Divesting Chrome could disrupt the user experience for millions and create uncertainty in the tech industry. Now, it's crucial that any action taken is carefully considered to balance the need for competition with the potential impact on consumers. There would be some. Again, this development also raises questions about the role of government in regulating the tech industry. Again, are we witnessing a necessary intervention to protect the public, or is this actually an overreach that could stifle innovation? It seems hard to believe, but there is certainly that possibility, or could be used for future lawsuits as well. Again, these are complex issues that require thoughtful discourse. Again, the bottom line, though, the DOJ's push to force Google to sell Chrome is a direct challenge to the unchecked power of big tech. So we're going to keep a close eye on that. And in terms of where does it leave us stand, the DOJ's actions against Google mark a significant moment in the ongoing debate over tech monopolies and regulation. We'll keep you updated on that development. And then bottom line, also guys, today we've been watching the Bitcoin that has been going up a lot today. I think we touched 94,000. We're around 92,000 right now, but it's getting on up there. We're closing in on $100,000 for Bitcoin now. So definitely things, because of all the uncertainty in the world, certain assets are going to be going up during this time of uncertainty here. I'm glad to see everybody coming in tonight on YouTube. I'm glad you took a time out to join us tonight. We're getting these longer updates to let you know what's going on in the world. There's Maria in here on YouTube. MH, I see you as well. Bella, Fragile Lives, Punk in here, and everybody else that's in chat. Thank you, Belladonna, over on YouTube for the super chat, guys. Your support really keeps the channel going. I cannot thank you enough for helping us out here, guys. I also want to put in, just let you know, I'll leave the links down below, but we've got all of our backup channels, so you can check out when I'm not up on the air giving you the live evening reports. You can always follow us, because I got how many? I'm losing track of everything. We're running live on Twitter X right now, so you can see us over there. We're running live on Rumble. That's Texas News Studio on Rumble. We're running live on Twitch on Texas News Studio TV, and also just Texas News Studio on Twitch. And we're also running our backup channel on Rumble, which is also called Texas News Studio TV. So there's a lot of ways to follow us. It's kind of getting complicated because there's so many different channel names. You have to mix up the channel name just a little bit if you run more than one simultaneous or almost simultaneous. So we want to make you aware of these options so you can stay updated. And then quickly, just let you know, guys, we're doing good on the Rumble Rants. We're at 665 approximately right now out of 1,000. We got till the end of the month. Again, your support will keep us going here, and appreciate the Rumble Rants. Appreciate the subscriptions. I think we're at 41 right now. That should be updated on that. If you're watching this on Rumble, remember you can always, for I think it's like $5 a month on Rumble, and you can subscribe. Also, the subscriptions, I believe, over on YouTube are like, were they $250, I believe? So I think they're pretty reasonable on that as well. So appreciate everybody. And just give us a thumbs up if you like what we do. That's pretty much it at the moment. I'm going to take a quick scan of some of the news here real quick up on our developments in here. Also, Biden has just approved another $275 million weapons package for Ukraine after missile strikes and nuclear doctrine shift. So that just broke just moments ago. This is reporting to multiple news outlets, including Fox News. Again, breaking. Biden administration is expected to announce another $275 million weapons package for Ukraine this week. Russian television showing countries in Europe that would be hit by nuclear weapons if the war intensifies. We've had these, posted those up as well earlier. Also, just breaking just moments ago, the U.S. State Department announced that it has approved the sale of F-15 aircraft modernization and related equipment to South Korea. There's a lot of activity going on in the military world, guys, that we've just not seen really almost in our lifetime, or certainly not since the Cold War. There's a lot of it going on right now. Zelensky's saying that he's going to use these long-range weapons now. Bradley armored combat vehicles have been sent to Ukraine from the U.S., and they've been spotted in Romania. Looking at that right now. So again, we told you before that there's ebbs and flows with this. It kind of been quiet for a while, too quiet. You know, the Middle East was hot for a while, and it kind of got kind of quiet. And then right as kind of got kind of a slow news cycle, it's percolated a lot. This time is a big percolation up. So we're watching it very closely. That's why I'm doing these reports with you. We're staying longer. I don't know how long we'll be running them, but we could be running them for multiple hours as this thing continues to crank up. So stay with us on all of our platforms and over on YouTube, guys. And again, I really appreciate your support here. Got a good crowd coming in tonight. If you're new on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can get caught up on all the updates. We're doing these again every day. Again, follow us on all the different platforms, and that way we'll keep you updated one way or the other, because we're running the channel on these other platforms 24/7, so you can always check out and see what's going on. I don't see all of our moderators. I saw Jan a little minute ago over on Rumble or on YouTube, but some of them have disappeared at the moment. And good to see everybody over on Rumble, Stephen and everybody. I'm glad you're with us tonight. So let me go ahead. I'm going to sign us off on YouTube tonight. We are going to continue to keep you updated on all these developments. Stay with TNS, Texas News Studio. I'm your host, Mark Myers. We'll be talking to you soon at the next report. See you then.